Welcome in. Today, we're doing an explainer of one of the most famous thought experiments out there, but with a bit of a twist. Picture this. You're stepping into the warm, softly lit library of Professor Cat. Yep, our bespectacled feline scholar is going to be taking us on a total mind-bender of a journey. We're looking at a concept that honestly sounds completely absurd, yet it's deeply rooted in hard mathematical logic. So, Professor Cat sets up our core question right off the bat. Imagine a huge room just packed with hyperactive monkeys. Every single one of them is sitting in front of a typewriter, and they have absolutely unlimited time to just bang away at the keys. I know, it totally sounds like the setup to a bad joke, right? But this exact scenario actually challenges our deepest intuitions about probability, infinity, and what is mathematically possible.
Okay, let's look at section 1, the animal typewriter challenge.
This brings us to the famous infinite monkey theorem, proposed by a French mathematician named Émile Borel way back in 1913. This theorem basically states that a monkey randomly hitting keys for an infinite amount of time will almost surely type any given text, even the complete works of William Shakespeare. Now, the absolute key phrase here is almost surely. In the world of probability theory, this is a classic illustration showing that when you stretch time out to literal infinity, a miracle that seems virtually impossible magically transforms into an absolute unavoidable certainty. Let's break down the math of this magical scenario, just to see exactly how these probabilities compound. Say we just want one of our chaotic little monkeys to type the word banana. Just 6 letters. If the typewriter has 50 keys, the chance of the monkey pressing B right off the bat is 1 in 50. And because every single keystroke is an independent event, the monkey obviously doesn't remember what it just typed, you actually have to multiply those probabilities together for every subsequent letter. So 1 in 50 times 1 in 50 times 1 in 50, and so on. Sounds pretty straightforward for a short word, right? But just wait until you see what happens when our furry friends try to type something even a little bit longer. Moving on to section 2, mathematical infinity and inevitability. 11,881,376. Wow, that is the staggeringly high odds against a monkey typing just the first 5 letters of a Shakespearean sonnet, the word shall, on a standard 26-key keyboard on their very first try. Just 5 letters, and the chance of success is already almost 1 in 12 million. The numbers just completely collapse at an exponential, frankly terrifying rate. But here is the beautiful safety net of pure mathematics, which is guided by something called the law of truly large numbers. You see, in a clean, theoretical world, our monkeys don't just get one try. They can try a million times, a billion times, or just endlessly. With every new attempt, the probability of them failing continuously decreases. It's a microscopic drop, sure, but it drops nonetheless. And when you expend those trials to infinity, the failure rate doesn't just get close to 0. Actually, scratch that. It drops to exactly 0. In the perfect vacuum of theoretical math, unlimited time absolutely guarantees a successful result every single time. That perfect mathematical vacuum, however, sets up a rather harsh plot twist for Professor Cat's warm little storybook narrative. Basically, there is a massive, impenetrable wall between abstract theoretical math and our actual physical reality. Theoretical math gives us the ultimate luxury of infinite time and perfect randomness, allowing random keystrokes to eventually generate any text. But out here, our physical universe is bound by finite resources, decaying energy, and a relentlessly ticking hourglass. Which brings us to section 3, the cruel countdown of reality. Just imagine this. We recruit all 200,000 chimpanzees currently living on Earth, and we put them to work typing one key every single second. Now, let's pretend they're biologically immortal. Even if these immortal chimps kept typing until the absolute final heat death of the universe, which is an unfathomable 10 to the power of 100 years from now, time would still run out long before the math actually works out in their favor. A biological lifespan is just a tiny sliver compared to the universe's timeline, but even the universe's timeline is literally nothing compared to mathematical infinity. Look at this unimaginably small number. 6.4 times 10 to the negative 7,448,254th power. That is the actual probability of those 200,000 immortal chimps successfully typing out Hamlet before the universe goes completely dark. Guys, that is a decimal point followed by over 7 million zeros. It perfectly illustrates that, in reality, waiting around for pure randomness to create a masterpiece is functionally identical to it being completely impossible. No way around it. And that leads into section 4, the absurd real monkey experiment. So what happens when we strip away all this theory and actually test this with real, messy biological animals?
Well, in 2002, researchers at Plymouth University in the UK decided to find out. They put a computer into an enclosure with 6 macaques for 4 weeks. And the result of this grand experiment? The monkeys produced a total of 5 pages of text, consisting almost entirely of the letter S. They didn't even get close to a single real word. Instead, the lead male grabbed a rock and physically smashed the computer, and the rest of the group proceeded to use the keyboard as a toilet. Turns out, living creatures simply do not behave like random number generators. Who would have thought?
The Plymouth University Art Media Lab dryly noted that the experiment was, quote, obviously a scientific failure. It's a hilarious but honestly profound conclusion. It just perfectly highlights the sheer absurdity of applying pristine theoretical probability to living, breathing, totally unpredictable animals who have absolutely zero interest in writing Elizabethan theater. All right, Section 5, The Myth of the Infinite Library. Let's step away from that chaotic monkey enclosure for a second and follow Professor Cat into a vast, endlessly dusty archive. This brings us to the philosophical climax of our journey, the Library of Babel. Conceived by the writer Jorge Luis Borges, this is a conceptual, universal library containing every single possible combination of characters. If the monkeys actually succeeded, this is exactly what they would create. Think about it. It holds every true book ever written, every brilliant scientific discovery, even the exact story of your own life. But it also contains every false statement ever made and endless volumes of complete nonsense. So this library is, in reality, a total nightmare. Yes, it contains the absolute truth about everything in the cosmos. But for every one book of truth, there are an infinite number of lies, terrifying misdirections, and absolute gibberish. Mathematicians have actually calculated that you would need to manually sort through over 350 million strings of meaningless text just to find one recognizable 6-letter word. So having total infinite knowledge is ultimately completely useless if it's permanently buried under an infinitely expanding ocean of meaningless garbage. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, but the haystack goes on forever.
And finally, Section 6, The Creative Value of Finite Life. So what's the big takeaway here? Well, on one hand, we have the monkey's approach to the universe, attempting to brute force meaning through an endless, random search through infinite nonsense. It's a futile, exhausting endeavor. But on the other hand, we have the beautiful, deliberate act of creation. Instead of waiting for random letters to align perfectly, we intentionally take basic parts, words, ideas, paints, musical notes, and we thoughtfully combine them to form purposeful communication and art. Rather than waiting for infinite randomness to just hand us a perfect script, the true value of our finite, beautifully flawed existence lies in our unique ability to actively create meaning ourselves. We definitely don't have infinite time, and we certainly aren't perfect random. But if our time in this universe is strictly limited, isn't it much more powerful that we choose to write our own story rather than just waiting around for a monkey to type it by chance? Think about that for a bit.
Knowledge grows through sharing. What are your thoughts on today's topic? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe as we continue to grow together.